Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is SharePoint Power Hour, our weekly show at 11 Central every Wednesday. And today we have a special guest with us. We have Ben from ShareGate, who is going to do some awesome cross-site publishing demos and information and presentation for us. But just a little bit to start off with, to tell you about Power Hour if you've never been to one. This is live, and it gets recorded, and it's in Google Hangout, and it's in YouTube. So if you're watching us from YouTube, you can actually click the link to take you over to the Google Hangout. And if you're watching it live, there is a Q&A. There's a way to do Q&A because we like to get your feedback as we go. That's the fun of doing it live, is taking questions and getting the conversation going. When you're in the Google Hangout, you can click the little icon towards the top right that's got some little squares, and that lets you flip between the Showcase app and the Q&A app, and that's where you can pop in there and say hello and ask questions as we go, and we want this to be very interactive. So I'm Laura Rogers at Rackspace Hosting. This is my team of SharePoint consultants at Rackspace, and we'll go through and we'll introduce like Corey, then Kevin, then Ryan, and then Ben will introduce himself and go on with his presentation.
All right, I'm Corey Evans. I work for Rackspace. I do mostly out-of-the-box SharePoint workflows, InfoPath, starting to dabble in some PowerShell, which has been pretty fun. So yeah, working with SharePoint for about 10 years now.
And good morning. My name is Kevin Hughes, and I'm the SharePoint architect here at Rackspace on Laura's team. And just celebrated my 1 year anniversary with Rackspace. But been working with SharePoint since its beginnings, and been around IT for over 30 years now. So try to get some idea of what our customers want, and then make it happen with the people on our team.
All right, I guess that means hi everybody. I'm Ryan Keller. I am the branding guy on the SharePoint team here at Rackspace, so that means that I make SharePoint look different. I've been working with SharePoint, I think, for about 8 years now. Been doing SharePoint consulting for a little over 6 years, and been doing branding almost exclusively for about the last 4-ish years or so. I am based out of Colorado, where it is very rainy and cold today, so fall is definitely in full swing, and happy Back to the Future Day, everybody. With that, I will turn it over to Ben.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Benjamin Niaulin. I work at ShareGate here in Montreal, where it is also very cold. The winter is definitely here. In fact, it snowed the other day. Awesome. Can't wait to get out of here this week. I've been doing SharePoint for, I don't know, since SharePoint 2007 was born. I was doing a lot of IT stuff, SCCM, SCOM, Exchange, and the SharePoint demand grew so much that I started doing just that, and here I am today. So I focus on when you don't have to code, basically. I know that many times we're all over the place and we just need to find a solution, and we can't necessarily call on developers, although they make things look awesome and build things that are awesome. I try to do as much as I can without having to open up Visual Studio, whatever that may be. Do I continue?
Yeah, you can go ahead and just get started with your presentation. For some reason, my camera's not working. I know all of you can see me inside of here, but the people watching say they can't see me. I don't know. I'll see if I can figure it out, but it doesn't really matter since Ben's the one doing the presentation. So
We can't see you either.
Oh, thanks for telling me ahead of time. I could see me, and my camera's turned on, so I didn't know there was an issue.
Oh, I did tell you like 3 times, but that's okay.
Perfect.
I don't listen to you, Corey.
Fair enough.
I'll start sharing my screen. So this means that thankfully you won't have to endure my face anymore. I'll come back at the end. Don't worry for the questions part, and please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. I will start. Before I begin, again, thanks for joining. I'm very excited to present here on the Power Hour with the Rackspace folks that I love. I want to show you a couple of things. We're going to talk about search and building search-driven sites, and I'll tell you why in a few seconds. But first and foremost, I want to show you something I find very, very important. So, and don't worry if it's hard to see. What I'll do is I'll press this button here so we can zoom in, and hopefully you can see even better. I'm going to go in one of my sites, and the site is called, if I can find it, of course, Demo Today. And what I want to show you in this site is that, let me see here. What I'm actually showing you is that I believe to have the fastest SharePoint in the world. Look at these clicks. Are you jealous? All right, I finished showing off, I think. I'm just clicking stuff. So sometimes people tell me SharePoint is slow, and I just show this, and we move on to other things. So again, thanks for joining. If you want to know how to make SharePoint ultra fast, add me on LinkedIn or poke me on Twitter, @bniaulin or Benjamin Niaulin on LinkedIn, and I'll send you a link to a white paper. It's all about the SQL Server, actually, and the hard drives rather than SharePoint itself. And I find whatever you're doing, whether you're going to build a new intranet, whether you're going to use SharePoint for anything really, a big part of the adoption is going to be the speed of your SharePoint. So we definitely want something like this. I'm going to talk to you about search today. And if I could, I would take the whole day and it would be a power day. Maybe we'll do that one day. I don't know, Laura. But in this short segment, I want to talk to you about search-driven sites. Yeah, that's me. That's how you can reach me. Doesn't really matter. Sometimes I go to customers or I meet customers, and I often go towards the beginning, right? When people want to know whether they should be using Office 365 or SharePoint on premises, or they have an idea, they're not sure how to implement it, and I go and I listen, and I get this sometimes. Oh, I know what we can do. Let's build a new intranet. And the problem is that no one really has an idea of what they were going to do. There's no actual point to it. They just want a new intranet for having a new intranet. So obviously, before anything in any project whatsoever, it's nothing to do with SharePoint or Office 365. You want to know kind of why you're doing this and what is your goal. You want to be able to measure this. You want to increase the speed of access to certain types of information. You want this, you want that. You want to be able to measure the success of your new intranet at the end. But let's go into something that I've heard. This was very interesting. This was a couple of years ago now. And I'm sure that many of you have had this very, very similar problem. Sorry, I'm Canadian. I have to say sorry. There we go. I wanted to put it there once at least. We were building an intranet for a very, very large customer who had multiple things, multiple offices around the world, really, not just Canada. And we were building the intranet, and of course, the first rule of SharePoint: don't call it SharePoint. So our intranet was called eSpace. And working with the communications team, they came back after 2 or 3 weeks of meetings with each other, and they give me a list of links, and they say, my goodness. And they said, Benjamin, here's the links for the useful links section of our intranet. So I want you to think about your own intranet. Do you have that section called useful links? No, I know you have the weather web part and you have the slider. I'm talking about the useful links section. Do you have that? And who chose these links? And that's something that's been bugging me ever since. Because what they told me is that they went for 2-3 weeks and they gathered links that they wanted to push out to everyone. And they said, here, Benjamin, that's the useful links section. And now when I questioned the useful links and where they got them from, they told me that they made it up. That's the links that they want to push. And I completely disagree with this. It doesn't make any sense, because the person from IT and the person from finance, the guy on the field, they don't have the same reality. They don't have the same daily life at the office. Therefore, the useful links cannot be useful to the over 4,000 people that they had on the team. That doesn't make any sense. On top of that, these same people, they go online today, they go on the internet, and everything is tailored to them. Even if you go on Facebook, the news and the ads are going to be tailored to you as a person, knowing who you are, right? If you go anywhere online, right, you will get ads targeting you as a person. I know some of you may have already gone on the ShareGate website once in your life. What happens once you leave our website? We're going to have all of our ads pointing at you, whether it's on YouTube, whether you go on any website, because we know that you've come at least once. And then you go to the office, you go to the intranet, that's new, that's 2015 intranet, and there's a useful link section that you don't even bother with because it's not for you. It's not useful to you as an individual. So that's one of the big problems I've had, and I was looking at some, sample SharePoint intranets online, and this is all what I mean. It's what I call the static site, right? I invented that. You're not going to find that anywhere else. The static intranet, where everything is written right there on the page, where someone, and that's something I hate, is people building an intranet and then telling the authors and the people that create the content to actually go to the page and click on edit page and modify the actual page that everyone is going to visit. Have you thought about the poor nerves of that person that has to go on the home page and click edit page while there's 4,000 viewers every day going on that page? What if that person makes a mistake? I know you can have approval workflows and all of that good stuff, but I'm definitely not a big fan of that. And there's tons of examples, right? It can look very good. We've got the branding guy at Rackspace that's going to make it look good. That's not a problem. I'm talking about how do the authors of the content manage the content, right? We got a SharePoint 2010 example where we edit the page and we go write the content right here. I am not okay with this in 2015 going to 2016 anymore. Everything's static. Everything that does not adapt dynamically to the user visiting the page, that is not, right? If we're talking about Office 365, we're talking about Delve, machine learning, the Office graph. And then we go build our SharePoint stuff and we create a useful link section and we put our links, we edit the page, we put our text, and then, no, I want to show you a new way of doing all of this. My apologies. So yeah, yay, a new intranet, or yay, a new team site. Everything I'm going to show you applies in everything in SharePoint. Whether you're going to build a new team site, whether you're going to build a new extranet, public-facing site. In fact, let me open up my browser here. I'm going to go to a website that we've built. There's a couple of them. For example, Chad.ca. I'm going to open up another one. There we go. If that could just drop down. So this is a SharePoint website that we've built for one of our customers here in Montreal. Does it look like SharePoint? Not really, right? We've got the navigation that they wanted. What I want to say about this site, whether it's a public-facing site that you're building, whether it's an intranet, a team site, it doesn't matter. The content creators, the people that modify this site, none of them come here and click edit page. None of these items that you see in the navigation here are actually here on the page, and they're all somewhere else. And that's what I want to talk to you about, cross-site publishing, writing the content in one place and displaying it the way that you want somewhere else, tailored to the user that visits the page. That's where I want to go. So let's go back to our wonderful presentation. I love Suits, I love shows, I love movies. So I'm here actually to change your mind, right? That's what I want to do today. I want to change your mind and hopefully start building these dynamic and contextual intranets instead. Essentially, I want you to find and display. That's what search is about. And I don't mean the search box. We'll talk about that. But I mean, if you saw earlier, I had a couple of sites. What do you see here? By the way, all of the display templates that I'm showing here, you can actually go and download on the ShareGate blog, no problem there. But you see this? It's nice. I may want to use it. I can click. I have a description. Where is this? Well, it's a SharePoint list somewhere else, or an image library in this case, with metadata, and I decide to show it this way. If I go to another one, if somebody asks me to build a slider, I'm going to create an image library, put the metadata, and then pull it through the search and show it this way, right? This is all cross-site publishing technically. And if I look at my menu demo, same thing, animated menu. What is this? This is a SharePoint list that's somewhere else. So the idea here is about creating content in one place that's boring. for example, a regular SharePoint list with some columns, because we have to separate the experience that people have when they're creating the content from the experience that people have when they're viewing or consuming the content. These are two complete different scenarios and require two very different experiences. Right? And I have tons of these. What else did I build recently? I have the overlay. I mean, it's ugly. You can change the colors. You can do whatever. But once you click, it goes full screen. I can take full benefit of the entire page, close it, and go back on a page. So if I wanted to provide news articles, announcements, calendars in one vertical column, people click, go full screen. These are the kind of experiences that I want, search-driven ones, right? That I can build once and are completely reusable. I'll tell you a secret. I should have told you earlier. There's two things you should know about me. And if you want, you can tweet it with the hashtag PowerHour or wherever it's being used, and @bniaulin, which is my Twitter. I'm French, and I'm lazy. I'm not going to hide the fact. I like to have a barbecue and relax on the weekend. I like to not do more work than I need to. That's definitely the definition of Benjamin Niaulin. The reality is that it's not that much like that, and unfortunately, I have way too much work, but I'm definitely lazy. And the reason I'm telling you this...
Hey, Ben?
Yeah?
Can you zoom in on your IE?
Yes, absolutely. Let me do something very quick. I think actually that when I'm on my IE, I can probably change the virtual machine to go something a little bit smaller. We've got, how about this one, this one, this one, this one. All right, let's see what this does. This is nice. How's this? Probably a lot better, I assume. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Looks good.
Awesome. All right, it was a test. Wanted to make sure everybody was watching. So I'm French and I'm lazy. And the reason I'm telling you this is that I don't want to build something multiple times again and again. When people ask me for a slider, I don't want to have to rebuild a slider for every team site. And that's what display templates do, and that's what search does. I build one way of one design, and it's completely reusable with any type of content, whether it's list, whether it's an image library, whether it's a documents library, whether it's a task list, events, it doesn't matter. I can always use that design, right? Build it once, reuse many times. So yes, I'm definitely saying there's something better out there. Shout out to my Bronx, my dog. And it's often difficult to author. That means that for the people that need to create the content in the sites, in the intranet, right? If we've got the Rackspace branding guy, sorry, I forgot your name. I'm really sorry, apologize. Something Keller, I think.
Ryan, yeah, Ryan.
There you go. So if we've got Ryan making SharePoint look amazing, right? We've got a responsive site that he's built in SharePoint 2013, or whatever the case, and it looks crisp. It looks nice. The problem often is, what about the people that have to go create the pages and write the content, right? That's a whole different story, because when they click edit page, they got to scroll down, scroll right. Sometimes the ribbon takes a little bit of second to load, pushes the entire page down, and you were about to click on something, you misclick. So often the problem is we provide either a great experience for the author, and consuming or viewing it becomes horrible because it's not designed, or we design it so much that it is beautiful to look at and consume the content, but the experience for the authors, those that create the content, is a little bit more complex. The other problem that we have is that the design changes over time. So for example, you may create an intranet like the one on the left-hand side, and then a couple of months or a year later, you decide that you want a different design that's responsive. When we're building cross-site publishing sites, or search-driven sites, I don't really care what the design is, and that's the beauty of it, because the content is stored in regular lists with the metadata, and when the designer and the integrator into SharePoint decides to change the design, it doesn't matter. It just has to pull the same information from the same list. The authors don't have to change anything about the way they write content. Maybe they'll have an extra column or a few less, but at least the experience is exactly the same, and as a designer, I can adapt it For example, if you remember, where's my screen? Where's my mouse? There. Oh, there's the big shake now. So if I go back to that page I was showing you, if they call me, well, actually it looks really slick, so we're not going to change this design anytime soon. But let's say that they decide to change this SharePoint site's design in 1 year or 2 years, and they call us and they're like, you know, we want this to be completely different. Well, I'm going to say, all right, I don't really care, because we'll build a design and we'll integrate it, but all of this is actually stored in lists and libraries somewhere else. So that doesn't change anything on that front. I just have to change the design in a year, pull the same information using search, and it'll just look different. Right? And that's the idea behind cross-site publishing or search-driven sites. Don't worry, we'll get started very soon. So what I'm trying to do, this is another example on your right-hand side. This is another public-facing website that we're building using SharePoint again. And the idea is that it's not SharePoint, right? But it is SharePoint. The idea is that all of this is not actually there. All of this is somewhere else. We've separated the place where people write the content and create it from the place where the viewers will consume the content and view it. So when we built this public-facing website for the Nunavik Parks here in the northern part of Canada, right? We said, we'll make this look amazing. We'll have sliders. But what is this? This is the search results web part. This is one list item. This is one list item. This is one list item. One list item, right? And the content creators, they go to the list and they add an item. There's a column to a picture, hyperlink or picture. There's a column for the price. There's a column for the description. There's a column for the title. There's a column for the categories. And then we pull it, and based on the categories tag, we'll add the little icons using the display template, right? Tomorrow, if they choose to change the design at Nunavik Parks, which frankly, I love the design so much that hopefully they won't, but I don't have to change much. I just have to change the design, but the place where people write the content stays intact. And that's what I'm trying to give you as an idea today. That the place, that even if it's a team site, the home page, or the place in the team site where people are going to go view the content isn't necessarily the same experience that they're going to have writing or creating the content. Same thing for your intranet, your extranet, your public-facing websites, whatever sites, whatever you're building with in fact, you know what? It's how most of Office 365 is built today. If you look at the video portal, right, in Office 365, there it is. The video portal is actually the same concept, right? There's different team sites where people upload their videos, but then Microsoft created a video portal hub, which is a page that shows everything using search in one place. If we're thinking about the Delve blogs, it's the same concept. Every user creates a blog page, and then Office 365 uses search to go find the blogs and show them to the different people. If you want to find out more, let me know. I have tons of information about the new Delve Canvas or stories or blogs. The name changes every article I read. So we're definitely going, you know what, I feel like opening it. Let's go check it out. Don't worry, my browser is going to show up in a few seconds. I'm going to move from here to the right-hand side, and I'm going to zoom in a few seconds. What I really want to show you is...
Again, real quick,
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jeanette in the Q&A has a question. It's going to be a little more technical, having to do with some catalog settings.
Yeah.
So it's probably for later, but I just want to let you know that it was out there.
Absolutely. We're going to check out the catalogs very, very soon. So if I'm going back to Delve, like, let me go a little bit zoom here. I'm on my Delve profile, and I decide to view all my posts. Right? What is this? Well, it's a search. Let me zoom out a little bit. It's actually a search-driven. This is search. Search went and got all the blog posts that I created and shows them in this way. If I click on one of the blog posts, right, this is a search result. Most people think they're actually viewing a blog post, or they're actually viewing or creating a blog page. No, the entire page is the result of one search result. I know it may be complicated, but try to think this way. Microsoft looked at it and they said, we need to provide a blog experience for all of our customers around the world in Office 365. We know for a fact that design is something that evolves with time, and that in 1 year or 2 years, we may have to change the way that these blogs look, but we will have thousands, if not millions of blogs already created in our different Office 365 customers. So how do we make sure that we do something that will evolve and pass the test of time? That's how it works. Everyone in the world always goes to the same page when they're viewing their blogs or other people's blogs. It's always the same page. It's called pointpublishing.aspx. And on this page, there's a search web part that says, fetch the blog post that that person is requesting and display it. This allows them to create something that may be responsive, and in the future, if they need to change the design, they just have to modify that one page, and everyone around the world, all their blogs will adapt to it, they would have tested them, and they will have updated the design for everyone. It's the same concept for you at the office with your own SharePoint intranets. It's definitely what we're looking to do. All right, I need to zoom back out there. All right, let's continue. I'm going to get to the catalogs, and we're going to demo. We're going to build our own site together in the last, is it already 12:25? Wow, all right. So why now? What's changed in SharePoint that all of a sudden, and not just in SharePoint, that all of a sudden we're talking about this? How come in SharePoint 2010 I wasn't talking about search-driven sites and contextual and dynamic content? Well, the internet happened. People are used to this, right? If I buy a new fridge tomorrow, or a washer and dryer, or a car that doesn't come with some kind of app that's connected to my phone or my watch or my laptop, I'm going to be disappointed. If I go online, I expect things to be dynamic. I expect things to be tailored to me as a user. And combine this with search that completely changed in SharePoint 2013 and 2016 and Office 365. There's so many things now that I can use that's completely changed the way that we work. In fact, I want to talk to you quickly. I'm not going to be able to demo it. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. In fact, I won't stop sharing my screen, but I was going to put my face and tell you there. There's one thing that is extremely cool, and it's called, do I want to present it like that now? What's the one thing that I don't like about SharePoint, but that I preach about SharePoint to other people all the time? Metadata. I'm going to be very honest, and maybe a trade secret that I'm revealing, I don't know. We know metadata is important. We know metadata is required, that we need it for search, for tagging, for retention policies.
But no one wants to do it, right?
Yes. And I'll tell you a secret. I don't want to do it either. I hate it. I hate having, we're here at the office and we use SharePoint, and then I go to somebody's document library, I upload the document, and then I get the form. And I'm like, oh, so annoying. But I'm the guy then that goes to presentations and saying, you guys got to do metadata. It's very important. So I feel a bit hypocritical. And I know it's important. So with customers, I found a place that I can go in between now. I don't know how it's the expression in English, but it's called metadata extraction. And it's very simple. I learned it actually from Corey Roth, and it's from a blog post called No Metadata, No Problem. Definitely check it out. And it says basically that the search engine can go in your content and automatically tag your document in the search. And since I build all my sites using search web parts, this is actually very useful, because then I can have refiners that nobody had to necessarily tag. So if a document has the word invoice in it, I can tag it by invoice. And I don't have to ask people to tag the document as an invoice. Maybe I'll just ask them for 1 or 2 tags that's easy to fill out. See what I mean? So the metadata extraction is actually, it looks geeky, it looks super complicated. It's actually as easy as opening Notepad, writing words, separating them by commas, and then saving the Notepad file, the text file, and uploading it in, follow the steps in the blog post. Honestly, it's super easy, totally worth it, especially if you're building search-driven sites or if you just want to give a boost to your search center. What I'm going to focus on is a couple of things, but it's important for you to know that I don't mean the search box. When I'm talking about building sites using search, I'm not saying, oh, we're going to do a Google-like experience and people are going to do the work themselves. I mean that what's on the page is the result of a predetermined search query, but people don't have to go in the search box and type something. That's definitely not what I mean. Yeah, I know, Ballman. Did you ever hear about this? Let me, before we get to this, let me talk to you about search crawls a little bit. It's easier for me.
Jeanette said, is it a way to do it with PDFs, having to do with what you were just talking about?
Absolutely, right? It doesn't matter what type of document. Sorry, my English is actually not that bad. That's just an excuse. Essentially, if you have any type of documents that you have an I filter for, now I'm going technical, right? But if the search engine understands how to read the content of a document, then you can use metadata extraction, right? Because it's about going inside of the content and picking up words and tagging the content, that document, with whatever word you want in the search engine. So absolutely you can do this with PDFs. In SharePoint 2013, the I filter is already included. In things like SharePoint 2010, or if you have other types of files, you're going to require an I filter installed to be able to read other types of files as well. But before we can build any types of search stuff, you have to understand how things get put in the search box so that you can use it. We call that the search index. In fact, I use an analogy, I hope that's the word, quite often. I'm not sure that it comes from me, I probably heard it somewhere else. Essentially, I see how the search engine in SharePoint, for me, is kind of like going to, I don't know if you guys remember this thing, I don't know if there's still any of them, but have you heard of something called a library? Like in the city? Like back in the day, you would go there, you could pick up books, you could check them out. Yeah?
They had like a card catalog and stuff.
Yeah. So that's
I'm sorry. What's a book?
All right, I'm teasing. I think everyone knows. But essentially, libraries is very much like SharePoint and the search. When you go to the library and you're looking for a book, and let's say the books, they're your actual document libraries, they're your actual files, and there's tons of rows, right? There's tons and tons of books in the library. But you're looking for one particular one. So what happened is, before anything happens, there's a librarian. The librarian, we're going to call this person the search crawler or the search indexer. And this librarian will go every 2 hours or every 15 minutes, scan all of the books that exist in the library, and then create a little index card for each and every one of them. The index card will have properties that librarian manages, or managed properties. And it will say, what do we have for the title of that book? Or what is the book's ID? It's this ID. What is the title? Who's the author? What is the content, the first couple of chapters? What is the category of this book? Right? You get the properties of the book. You have them in the index card. And then you take all of these index cards and you put them in the file cabinet that we're going to call in SharePoint Search the index. So what happens is, when you go to the library, you can do a content query, like the content query web part, meaning you go through all of the aisles and you query all the books to find the book that you want. That's going to take a lot longer. Because you're going to have to query everything, so everything is a lot slower. But if you're using the file cabinet, it's almost instant, right? You go by category, you go by letter, you pick up the card, and you have everything about the book. In some cases, you don't even need to go buy the book or go check out the book. You can just put the card back in, and you had everything you needed. That's how this works. And the process of the librarian going every 15 minutes and crawling all the rows to pick up that information in SharePoint is called crawling. you have different types of crawl. You have the full crawl, where we pick up everything that's changed, and we have the incremental crawl, where we just look at the difference from the last time. In SharePoint 2013, they decided to add something called continuous crawl. Why? Well, let me tell you about a problem and why nobody trusted the previous crawls. The problem was, if you launched a crawl and you said, go every 15 minutes, scan everything that I have in my SharePoint, and bring it back. Most people didn't realize that after a while, your SharePoint grows quite big. And so it's not possible for that librarian, for that indexer, to grow across the entire library and come back before 15 minutes are over, because that person is supposed to go again every 15 minutes. So what happens is it takes 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 1 day, 2 days to do one crawl. So even if you said, I want you to scan every 15 minutes, it wouldn't do it because it still didn't come back from that first crawl 12 hours ago. And then people said SharePoint search is horrible, but it's actually their fault because they didn't split their content sources and so on. So what happens in this case is that for the continuous crawl, to fix this problem, Microsoft said, you know what? We're going to release something called continuous crawl. Now, pardon my English, the way that I learned English, continuous means that it is always doing it. So continuous crawl in my head would have meant always crawling. However, the new continuous crawl actually runs every 15 minutes also. So it's not continuously crawling. The difference with continuous crawl compared to regular crawls is that if the indexer, if the librarian is not back within those 15 minutes and to go again and launch another scan or another index crawl, well, they hire another librarian. But since we're a computer and not a real library, hiring another indexer means more CPU, more RAM, more processing power, as mentioned, and thus your SharePoint could become quite slow. So be careful when activating continuous crawl. Don't do it everywhere. And once we've got everything, once we've got the continuous crawl, or once we understood that we have crawling happening, we can start using what we call cross-site publishing. Cross-site publishing is not something that you go and you turn on in SharePoint. It's not a button, it's not a special feature or anything. Cross-site publishing is a concept. You're doing cross-site publishing as soon as you have content in another site that's actually where you're showing the content. Right? Let's look at the famous picture from Microsoft. Look at the picture carefully. You have the authoring site collection on one hand. It's getting crawled and indexed and put in the search type of database. And then you have the publishing site collections, or where people are viewing the content, and the arrows are never pointing to the source. They just ask the search to pull the content and show it to them. This means in terms of performance, it's almost instant. We get the content without having to query the content, and we just see it live. And we can use it multiple times in different designs. This could be the intranet, this could be the extranet, and this could be the public-facing website, and they all pull the content, just show it differently for different people. And since we're using search, we can even leverage the person visiting the page to adapt to it. Of course, I'm not saying information architecture is not important anymore, right? Tagging is still very important, and metadata is still very important, because we needed to have proper information, proper navigation. We need to have the right metadata to tag it so that you can use refinements when you're using search to filter by and so on. However, hopefully, you'll leverage the metadata extraction. Right? It doesn't matter how the tagging is done. It matters that it's there. All right. So let's get started a little bit. Yes, taxonomy is very important. Profiles are very important, actually, right? Your profiles is the description of a person. So if you want to tailor, and I have these examples on my blogs as well, And I have tons of things on search-driven stuff on the blog if you want to step-by-step with videos and so on. What I did in one of my examples is I looked at people's profile in terms of departments, and when I created announcements, right, in the intranet, the person creating the announcement would tag the announcement with global or sales only or marketing only, and so the right people arriving on the page would get the right announcement without having to create multiple pages with audience targeting and all that goodness. I just have one page, one web part, one list, and based on who you are when you visit the page, it adapts to it, it adapts to you. All right, you know what?
Hey, a couple things. I did put a link to Corey's thing in the Hangout, in the showcase, and I did put a link to your blog that you mentioned in the showcase. And Jack says it'd be, so Jack says, do you have a 10-point list of the things you need to do to get started? And you wrote a blog post about that with the announcements list, so I'll put a link to that too, Jack.
I'll definitely, if you go on my Twitter, at BNIAULIN, I pinned a tweet there that's always there on the first tweet of my profile. It's always going to be there. It's 30 links to different blog posts, and they're categorized by category. Categorized by category. All right, awesome, Ben. One of the categories is search, and another one of them is cross-site publishing. And I grouped all of my blog posts there. So you have webinar recordings, you have step-by-steps, you have downloadable files for display templates. So you'll definitely find a lot on search there if you want. Now, I'm going to start doing some demos in about a few slides, and we're going to go step by step, and I'm definitely going to keep the last 50. I'm already at 42, man. I told you we should have done a power day. All right, so I'm going to talk to you about something called the product catalog now, and that's how we're going to use cross-site publishing in this example. But I want you to know that the product catalog is going to make your life easier. It's not required. That means everything I'm going to do with the product catalog, you can actually do this manually. So even if you're in Office 365 where the product catalog is still not available, you will still be able to do everything I'm doing, except it's going to require a couple of extra steps nonetheless. What's important about the product catalog is that, yes, you can use it to build search-driven sites for selling products. And you have two examples here where these are SharePoint search sites that are used to sell products. But the product catalog also is not just for products. It can be used for all kinds of things: intranet, extranet, internet sites, collaboration sites, application sites. Essentially, what happens when you use the product catalog is that entire lists, right, entire lists and libraries become a catalog that's available to use. The catalog is that entire thing in the library index thing, right? It's everything in there is already automatically cataloged for you to use as a whole. So if you go in another site, you can plug the catalog, which is essentially plugging the list. Let's switch into demo mode if you guys are okay with this. If you want, we can do no demos. I'm okay with that. I'm kidding. I know you want demos. All right, so what do I have? First, I have the fastest SharePoint in the world. Definitely, always like to show it off. Click, 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 click. So that's going to play a big part in me showing off. Completely useless in this presentation, though. All right. So what I have is I created a site called the catalog, or the content catalog. The site template does not matter. You can go to any site, any team site, activate a feature called cross-site publishing, and it's going to allow you to turn any list or any library in that site into a catalog. So the site template that you choose to create does not matter whatsoever. I want to be clear on that. I want you to think of this site collection where I'm going to create the content as the place where I want my content creators to create the content. So if I go to site content, it wouldn't be surprising to get a list of products, a list of announcements, a list of events, a list. It's going to be the place where, like, example for my intranet, where everyone goes and creates the content in very simple SharePoint list. They click on new item, they fill out the form. You can use InfoPath. It looks like you've got some experts in InfoPath at Rackspace. You can ask those guys, of course. And basically, you do whatever you want so that you can capture metadata. Right? You can do automatic metadata extraction. I don't care. Right now, this SharePoint list is nothing more than a SharePoint list. Okay? If I go to list and list settings, I look at it and it's just a bunch of columns. There's nothing special about this list. I didn't do anything secret. I didn't do anything behind the scenes. The only thing I've done is I tested my demo to make sure it works when I'm doing it in front of you. Right? So it's important, however, that you do have a manage metadata column somewhere in there. It's going to be very important because it's the only type of column that works across multiple site collections. You're not required to have one, but it will make your life a lot easier if you want to build automatic URLs with your metadata. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my sites here. And I'm going to show you that I have Contoso Electronics. This is the publishing site, and there's nothing weird. This is a regular publishing site. It just got created. It's got nothing, right? If I go to site contents, it's got nothing. It's just it's nothing. And what I want to do is I want to integrate my catalog into that publishing site. So I'm going to go into the products list. I'm going to go under list settings, and because the feature is activated, I'm going to have this new option called catalog settings. I'm going to click it, and I'm simply going to follow the steps on my screen. So I'm going to say I want to enable this library, or this list actually, as a catalog. Then I'm going to say, do you want anonymous access? Typical Microsoft. If you click on enable anonymous access, you would think that it enables anonymous access to your list. It does not. It has nothing to do with anonymous access. I know. So when I click on enable anonymous access, if I give you if I give you a hyperlink to my SharePoint list right now, it will still say access is denied. What this anonymous access is for, remember the whole crawling experience. You have the librarian, it scans everything, and now it's going to come to this list and it's going to see, oh, this is not just a list, this is a catalog. Well, when it takes the catalog and it puts the catalog in the file cabinet, it's going to make that portion of the file cabinet available anonymously. So if people are going to search for it using the search web parts, using the catalog itself, they're going to have access to view the information. But if they click on the link to go get it, if there is one available, it's going to give them access is denied. So when you're separating for an intranet, for example, when you're separating where people write the content from where people view the content, you can actually make it so that they don't have access to where you write the content, but they can still see it in the place where you view the content. Then this is only going to be available here to make it as easy as possible, is you can actually build the URL using the metadata in your list. So I want, when I click one of the items, I want to see the group number in the URL. I want to see the, I don't know, the color in the URL. And I want to see the title, which I would never use because usually in the title you have a space, which means I'm going to have in my URL %20. But I'll do it anyway. Then, while I'm building the catalog, it's going to ask me what column of type manage metadata do you want to use to build the navigation. I want to use the item category and click on OK. So I just said enable it, make it available anonymously if they're using the catalog in the search, build the URLs with these 3 columns, and use this column as the navigation. What is this column? Just so you see, let's go into the managed, the item category column right here. And the manage metadata column is basically linked to a term called assets that has, say, /electronics. And under electronics, there's audio, cameras, computers, home appliances. And in this list, every item has been tagged with laptops. Obviously, you're going to see all laptops right now because it's sorted. But you'll have audio, cameras. So everything is available there. Once I've identified this list as a catalog, I'm going to have to go into search and launch a full crawl. I'm going to refresh that. And I'm going to have to launch a full crawl because now I want that list to be picked up as a catalog. So I'll continue my slides, and we'll come back once this is finished crawling, which is roughly 3 to 4 minutes. So I want you to imagine this. You have the content in one place, you have where people view it in another place, and you can use product catalogs as regular list catalogs for announcements, for events, for the list of offices, so that it's dynamic, the URLs are built automatically. This is all very straightforward. I'm not a developer, and I'm able to build this entire thing by myself. Then I can ask Ryan Keller to create some display templates for me and create some awesome designs so that my announcements look like a slider. So they look like what I showed earlier, the animated menus. So what if, right? What do you see right here? This is a mock-up I used. I forget what tool, the mock-up tool there, Balsamic. And I created a SharePoint site or a SharePoint page. What do you see here? This is the future. This is where we're going. Wherever, if you're going on Office 365, wherever you're doing SharePoint, this is the way things are getting built right now. Do you see a page where people click Edit Page and write text and upload an image? Or do you see a blank page that everyone in the company uses? This page has a search web part on it that goes and queries a list and limits the result to one item. This one item shows the title column here, description column, multiple lines of text here, hyperlink to picture column here, created by column here, right? And then if somebody else visits this page, because this somebody else is asking for something else, such as a different office, it's still going to be the same physical page in your document library, in your wiki pages library, but it's going to query a different item. The people updating the list of offices or the list of announcements, they're just going to regular SharePoint list and clicking on new item, new item. So let me show you our example, the one we did for the Nunavik Parks here, right? This is one page here, one page here, one page here, and one last page there that's cut off a bit. What do you guys see here? Do you think we clicked on edit page and we make people click edit page and go modify these? No, of course not. This is a list, and in that list there's 3 items. Title column, hyperlink to picture column 1, and background image column, which is a hyperlink to picture column. This is the search results web part, or the content search web part, and it shows 3 items. This is another search web part, and it shows the title column, description column, hyperlink picture column. Same thing here. This is the search results column, and the refiners, we've just changed the display template for the refiners, and we put them at the top. Do you think that somebody came and clicked on create page here? What if I told you that this page is actually a list item? That's right. This entire page is one list item in a custom list. Mind blown. And guess what? Our SharePoint looks, I was going to say a bad word, but it looks effing amazing, right? This is a good looking SharePoint. It looks good for the people viewing it. It's great for the people consuming the content. But the people writing, the people creating the content, they go in a boring SharePoint, click new item, fill out the form, then maybe there's a publishing workflow, and that's it. It's simple for them. It's beautiful for the viewers. And tomorrow, if we change the design, the list stays the same. Maybe I add some columns, and I can change the design. It's completely disconnected. These are the examples I was showing you. These are some other examples that we've built here in Montreal. These are all search-driven sites, all of them. None of them is static. Everything is search-driven. Search-driven intranets, search-driven extranets, websites, collaboration sites. When you build your collaboration sites, what if you deploy team sites to all of your teams in the organization? Would it be useful that on the homepage of every team site that you deliver, there's a little web part that shows your recent documents? But not just from that team site, your recent documents. You, Joe, you, Laura, you, Ryan. You log into any team site in any team, and there's a search-driven web part that grabs all of the documents that were modified last by the current user logged in on the page. Yeah. So come on, let's not go back to static intranets. Let's see if we finish the full crawl here. Let's refresh. Perfect. Let me go and navigate with my super fast SharePoint speeds to the Contoso Electronics. And look at my steps. They're going to be as easy as going to Site Settings, Manage Catalog Connections, Connect to a catalog. Where's the zoom? There we go. Don't say I didn't zoom. Connect to a catalog, and literally, it's not showing up. Sometimes it does that for me. I'm going to launch another full crawl. I do apologize for this. We're not going to wait till it finishes.
I did post your blog post where you explained all that and did the step-by-step on how to do all that with an announcement.
I mean, it should show up very shortly.
Yeah, I see it do that to me too.
Yeah, every once in a while it'll take a few seconds. I'll continue anyways, but
hey, real quick, Jeanette's got a question.
Oh, perfect. Let's go over the question.
What should be done when looking to integrate multiple catalogs using the same term set for navigation hierarchy? Should all subsequent catalogs be set to not integrate and then use URL token to filter web part on publishing page? Ooh, that's tricky. You can see it in a little Q&A pane.
Yeah, I see it because I saw it. For when we get this section, what should be done when looking at multiple catalogs using the same term set for nav hierarchy? Yes, you can either connect them, but even if you integrate them, you have an option to pin the navigation because you never want to use the original term set, right? Because once you connect one, the others are not available. So what I usually do is I pin the term set to the current site, forget what the wording is like exactly, and let me just have something to look at here. You want to pin the term, or you can use what you said, which is connect, and then just do it manually. You can go to the metadata navigation and do everything manually. Remember, the catalog is there to make your life easier, but everything can be done manually by going to the term store management and going term by term and linking it to the right page. That's just done automatically with the catalog, but otherwise you can do that with query string in your URLs. You can do that with anything you want, really. So I have my catalog available here, and I'm going to click on Connect. Hopefully it's completely done. It should be since it's available here. And then I'm going to choose Integrate, which tag that I want to use. It's already done. If there's an error, it's not really an error. It just means that there's another one that's not working, but the item category is definitely working. There's my pin the terms to the site navigation. I'm going to keep everything the same. I want the URLs to be relative to this site. I don't want the URLs of my items to still be pointing to the source because they don't have access to the source. Right? Here, I have the managed properties that the search picked up as the URL, the group number, the color, and the title that we chose. But I could also manually define the URL format if I want. I can then create new pages with a custom master page if I wish. Click on OK, and look at what happens. Of course, everything's going to crash because I'm doing a demo. There we go. Come on, come on, come on. We're hitting the... I've got 2 minutes. I'm almost there, almost there. Connect the catalog, please. There we go. Look at the navigation. Already I have the navigation that's based on my term set. If I click, right, not only the URLs are friendly now. Look at the URL, /computers. If I go here, /laptops. If I click on one of the laptops, /group number, /color, /title. Now, I want you to know I'm on the same page. 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 I'm always on the same page. And that page has a search web part that shows the catalog, which is my list, and displays them in a certain way. That's what search-driven sites are. You can do this with your team sites for your document libraries. You can do this for your list, your announcements, your calendar items, for everything that you want. The URLs are dynamic. You can connect as many catalogs as you want. You can put it under different parts of the navigation and still control the navigation manually if you want. This is definitely the way that I want to do things now. Whenever we're building intranets, whenever we're building team sites nowadays, whether it's in Office 365, in fact, our new and latest intranets that we're building in Office 365 is the same concept as cross-site publishing. We create a Azure app in Azure, and we store the content in SharePoint list in SharePoint Online. Then we add our custom app, which is an intranet, in the app launcher of Office 365, and people think they've got a SharePoint intranet, but what they have is a custom .NET WPF intranet in Azure, somewhere else, that's leveraging SharePoint online lists as the storage for the content. There's some awesome stuff we can do. Guys, thank you so much. I'll stop sharing my screen so that we can talk and ask questions. I really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you.
Yeah, that was really fun. That's like you said, it could be a whole day, it could be hours. Joelle, actually, she's on my team. She's not here today. She's on site at a client, but she and I are going to do a session at SP TechCon on some of the cool stuff with the content search web part and
Awesome.
you know, all related to all this. But yeah, search is so powerful. It's just, I mean, cross-site publishing, all the functionality you can do there, and navigation, and just like a million different ways you can slice and dice the content search
Really
web
fun.
part and make it look cool. I mean, yeah, it could be a whole day. So, but thanks for coming. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you very
and
much.
Let's see. Oh, Jeanette's got a couple more questions. Let's see.
Nice Google effect.
Can you see hers?
Yeah, I'm just reading them up right now. And another catalog list with different content. Hey, thank you for the applause. I saw that.
It says, I'll just read out loud while you're reading. If you had another catalog list with different content, then you'd want to include on the pages of the products with all the terms tagged the same term set. When integrating it, do you change the connection to the previously pinned term set? Oh, yeah, tricky.
So you don't have to, if they're going to be on the same page. So basically, there's no integration really, right? What happens when you connect or integrate a catalog is that it makes the catalog a result source so that it's available for your search web parts. It goes into the term store and copies the term sets that you want to use for the navigation into the site collections navigation term set, right? And then for each term, for each word in the term set now, it's going to add, let me show you. Oh yeah, I don't have the great screen share. It's going to link to a page in your pages library. If after that you're going to connect other catalogs, you don't really have to do anything about the term anymore if you're going to use the same term set. All you have to do is connect the catalog so that it's available as a result source. And then you go into the page that your term in the navigation is pointing to, and you add your web part, your search web part, connected to this new catalog. And it's automatically going to use, right? If you edit your search web part, you're going to see that on one of the settings is to use the navigation. I forget exactly what it's called. It says use the parent terms or something or other. It's one of the first options.
Terms from or something like that, and it's got a little drop down.
Items or something or other. You want to use that. So it's very straightforward. You connect the subsequent catalogs, just connect them so that they're available as result sources. And frankly, you don't even need the catalog, right? Everything that I'm showing, you don't even need the product catalog. You could create a list, make a result source out of that in SharePoint. Then you can go to your publishing site. You can go in the term store management. You can create your terms. And for each term, you do term-driven pages. You link to a publishing page you want to use somewhere. You go in your navigation. You make sure that the navigation is using managed navigation. And then you go to the pages that the terms are pointing to, and you add your search web parts on them so that you can actually get what you want working.
Cool, very cool. And I did put all the links again in the little showcase. And thanks again. I know that people are probably overwhelmed, but you guys can go watch this on YouTube, and you can like pause and rewind as he's saying all those things, and just go do them, and go read his blog.
And thank you, Jeanette, for the nice comments and questions.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, she said based on a conversation, it blew her with you at Ignite. It blew her mind and changed the entire way she's designing the new SharePoint publishing side of her company. Cool. All right.
Awesome.
See you later. I'm going to go ahead and stop the broadcast. Let's see. Bye, everybody.